Hi friends, sairam app. இது ஒரு green social media. இது Facebook மாதிரி ஒரு social media platform. இதுல pictures, videos and voice chat roomலாம் இருக்கு. இதுல account open பண்ணி verify வாங்குற ஒவ்வொரு users பேர்லயும் ஒரு மரக்கன்று நடப்படும். இத sign up பண்ணி account open பண்ணும்போது verification email வரும். அதை verification பண்ணா மட்டும்தான் account open ஆகும். நீங்க என்ன user name கொடுக்குறீங்களோ அதை கொடுத்து தான் login பண்ணணும். email address போடக்கூடாது. account open பண்ணி cover photo, profile picture எல்லாம் வச்சு ரெகுலரா ஆக்டிவேட்டா இருந்தா மட்டும்தான் அது verified accountல எடுத்துக்கொள்ளப்படும். அதர் ஆப்ஸ்ல அப்லோட் பண்ணாத watermark இல்லாத own content video போட்டு verify வாங்குற usersக்கு gift உண்டு. அது என்ன gift அப்படிங்கறத அந்த ஆப்ல மெசேஜ் வரும். sairam app லிங்க் டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல இருக்கு, டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிக்கங்க. sairam app iOS and Google Play Storeல இருக்கு, டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிக்கங்க.
The life will also leave and their body may not function anymore. Atheists say a person has died because of nature. They will not accept that life is lost because God has left them. These people also say that the nature is God. Believers in God also say the same, and they had named the nature as God. For everything to function, there must be God within it. Nothing will be useful if there is no God in it. There are three types of people among the worshippers of God. One type of people searches for God to reach Him. The second type of people wants to know about God. The third type of people feels it is sufficient for them if they could worship God. Only one in a million thinks that he is ready to lose everything in this world but not God. They will do anything to reach God. Disciple. How can we follow the path of God realization? Guru. Ancient Siddhar Agathir, the great saint, composed the following stanza to illustrate the need for refining our mind. Manamadu semmayanal mandiram sebikka venda. Refined mind need not chant mantram. Manamadu semmayanal vaayuvai uyartha venda. Refined mind need not raise breath. Manamadu semmayanal vasiyai nirutha venda. Refined mind need not contain the vasi, which is the yogic inner breath. Manamadu semmayanal mandiran jemmayame. Refined mind conquered mandiram. We perform all our activities only to refine our mind. Raja Yogam is the process to refine the mind. All the teachings and advices of the ancient Siddhas, sages, jnanis, mahans and saints are to refine our mind only. The Siddhar Pattinathar clearly explains the status of the refined mind. Yogam is required only to refine the mind. One will come to know the taste of honey only when it is tasted by the tongue. However, Pattinathar informs us that he was consumed by honey. All these yogic practice and knowledge are required only to refine our mind. Another ancient Siddhar Sivavakiyar instructs us to burn off everything, including the good or bad karma, to avoid rebirth. One will get into the cycle of birth and rebirth till one completely burns all the karma, good or bad, and the mind. Karanda paal mulai puga kadainda, vennai mor puga. Milk cannot get back to breast. Churned butter cannot get back to buttermilk. உடைந்து போன சங்கின் ஓசை உயிர்களும் உடல் புகா. Sound of broken conch and lives cannot get back to their bodies. விரிந்த பூ உதிர்ந்த காயும் மீண்டும் போய் மரம் புகா. Blossoms and fallen fruits cannot get back to tree. இறந்தவர் பிறப்பதில்லை, இல்லை இல்லை இல்லையே. Dead don't take birth, don't and never. One has to do these things so that they don't take birth again. If they can't do these things, they will go through birth and death cycle without break. The root cause for all these activities is the desire emanating from the mind. To stop this cycle, one has to get rid of all the desires and attachments. Asai arumingal. Get rid of desires. Isanodu ayinum asai arumingal. Get rid of desires even with God. Asai pada aai varum tunbangal. Desires after desires bring torrential unhappiness. Asai vida ஆனந்தமாமே. Leaving desire after desire brings bliss. Don't assume that nothing will happen to us when we are with God. Illusion, the Maya, will do its work at any place. It is better to be without any desire when you are with God. The Gurunadar of Swami Vivekananda, the great Saint Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, used to enter into trance at any place and time. During the trance, the goddess Kali usually appeared before him. Ramakrishna informed his guru, Totapuri Baba, about it. The Baba had said, if you feel that this appearance is not right, then you have not reached the ultimate state of God realization. Ramakrishna said that he was unable to get rid of this appearance. Then his guru took a piece of glass and scratched the point between the eyebrows. From that time onwards, goddess Kali stopped appearing before Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. It is because his mind was focused on the scratch and not on the goddess Kali. Goddess Kali appeared only because of his mental condition. Swami Vivekananda was a bachelor degree holder. Poverty engulfed his family due to the death of his father. Vivekananda had gone to his guru Ramakrishna Paramahamsa to solicit help from goddess Kali. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa advised Vivekananda to request goddess Kali himself. Vivekananda went inside to request goddess Kali. When he came out, Ramakrishna inquired whether he has requested what he wanted. Vivekananda replied that he couldn't ask anything. Ramakrishna requested him to repeat it again and again. Vivekananda told him, I am unable to ask her anything because I am always happy whenever I see her. Ramakrishna told him that it is the same situation with him also. Disciple, how can we realize the self when our mind is without illusion? Guru, you started breathing because you were born. If you haven't taken birth, then where is the question of breath? Human beings only build temples for Lord Murugan and Lord Shivan. God don't build temples themselves. Only human being introduced God in this world. Only human beings can execute all types of work on the earth. The temples, places of worship and yoga centers were built by human beings. There are many planets. All these are created by God only. Why there are no temples in those planets? Only when God is there, activities will happen. God exists only in human beings. God is not openly visible, but resides within human beings. The illusion is preventing human beings to locate the God within them. Illusion is the basis for the desire. Jnanis have realized God after getting rid of the illusion by renouncing their desires. It is the difference. Human beings are spending their entire life without realizing the God. Siddhar Sivavakiyar mentioned in his famous stanza on the location of God. Billions of people have died in searching for God all over the world. They have not realized that the God is within them. We are all used to look at the outside world for everything. If one has to take a cow after purchasing it from the place or the farm where it grew up, then they have to show green grass to tempt the cow to come after the grass without giving it to the cow for eating. In the same way, our five senses were used constantly for the enjoyment of the objects in this world. One has to show love and affection and prompt the senses and the mind to avoid the things in the world and slowly turn them around to focus inside. One can realize God only through love and not by the decorations, flamboyant and luxurious prayer rituals. Disciple, can we realize God through mantram? Guru, one must chant mantram in their mind rather than through the mouth. The mantram chanted through the mouth will go as waste into the outside world. Only the mantram chanted within your mind will strengthen your mind. It is emphasized by Siddhar Sivavakiyar in the following stanza. God has given this body, one must use it well. One can realize God only when your body is in good condition. Odamulla podalo odiye ulavalam. When there is a boat, take it for a joyride. Odamulla podalo urudi pannikkollalam. When there is a boat, one can confirm it. Odamudainda podal oppillada veliyile. When the boat is broken in the open space, Aadumillai kolumillai yarumillai aanadu. No goat, no oar, and there is none. In the above stanza, human body is referred as the boat. The goat is a reference to Vasi, the yogic inner breathing. The oar is a reference to our breathing. It is 12 inches long and the Vasi is 6 inches long. We can achieve everything only with this human body. If there is no human body, we cannot achieve anything. Only in this human body, Atma will reside. Then only you can realize God. We don't exist without God. God doesn't exist without us. The God helps by standing along with people, searching for God within themselves. Our body is the best assistant in this process. Hence you must make your body strong and realize God within yourself. It is the path shown by the ancient siddhas and sages. Disciple, what are benefits of chanting of mantram? Guru, if you tell a word only once, it is an ordinary word. If you repeat same word 1,000,000 times, then it is called mantram. The author of Kandar Shashti Kavasam had ordained that if one recites it 36 times a day, whatever the person wants will materialize. But if one recites it 36 times, one will lose consciousness. Normally it will take 4 to 5 hours to complete the 36 recitations. Mantram is for persons who take this as a profession. Mantram makes a person's mind into a machine by continuous recitation. That is the reason it is said in Tamil, Mandiram Kal, Madimukkal. Mandiram is only a quarter portion and the remaining 3/4 is your intellect only. For the proper use of mantram, one requires intellect. Disciple, where to search for God? Guru, don't search for God anywhere outside. If you search within yourself, you can find God. Siddhar Sivavakiyar composed the following stanza about searching for God. Odi, 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 utkalanda sodiyai. Ran and ran to find the effulgent divine light residing inside. Nadi 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 nadi, நாட்களும் கழிந்து போய். Days were spent in the search and search. வாடி 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 மாண்டு போன மாந்தர்கள். Human beings died by withering and withering. கோடி 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 எண்ணிறந்த கோடியே. Countless billions and billions. In the above stanza, the Siddhar warns us not to search for God in a forest, a mount, in this village and that village. Billions and billions of people had spent countless days in searching for God and died. Where is this God which is difficult for people to find? God is residing within your body itself. உருத்தறிந்த நாடியில் ஒடுங்குகின்ற வாயுவை. Find the breath sheltered at the மூலாதாரம். கருத்தினால் இருத்தியே கபாலமேற்ற வள்ளீரேல். Could raise it to the skull top by keeping it in mind. விருத்தரும் பாலராவார் மேனியும் சிவந்தரும். Senile becomes youthful, skin glows red. அருள் தரித்த நாதர் பாதம், அம்மை பாதம் உண்மையே. It is true by the grace of the feet of the God and Goddess. The God is in your hand only. If human beings are like an iron piece, the God is like a magnet. If human beings become a clean iron piece without any soil and rust, then the magnet of God will attract the clean iron piece and keep it with itself. But human beings get mixed with the soil of worldly life and get rusted. Because of this rust covering the iron piece, even when the magnet comes closer, it is not attracting it. God, the magnet, is trying and trying, but the rusted human iron piece is not attaching itself to the magnet. The rust in the form of our desires is covering human beings. That is the reason God is not recognizing human beings, and human beings are unable to recognize God. If you are unable to recognize God, then it is not possible to search. Suppose a family had gone on a pilgrimage to a distant place, and in the crowd, they lost their children. The parents searched and searched in the crowd. Finally, unable to find their children, they returned home. Similarly, children were also unable to find parents. They cried and finally, unable to continue crying, they stopped crying. These children grew up and became adults. They became adults and started to live with the memory of their parents. In the same way, God is still searching for its creations while we are searching for the Creator. For both of us, nothing is visible, and we are unable to grasp the real issue. One has to understand the complexity of the problems in searching for God. Disciple, how to search for the God within self. Guru, in this world, there are 8.4 million, 84 lakh living beings. All these living beings walk with bowed head except human being who will walk with a raised head. Why a human being alone is walking with a raised head? All other living beings walk with their heads bowed down, because in all other living beings, function of God is there. Only in human being, God itself is living. That is the reason human beings don't bend their head to anybody and walk with a raised head. God is within human beings. However, God adapts according to the wishes of every human being. If a murderer wants to murder somebody, God encourages him to do it. If somebody wants to do charity, then God encourages them to engage in charitable activities. The God within yourself adapts to your wishes. God helps the thief for robbing. God lives along with your mind and thoughts. When babies come out from their mother's womb, they come out with hands closed. Child is born into this world with its hands closed. The meaning it conveys is that I don't want anything from this world and I want only God. That is the reason children were born with their hands closed. Disciple, what one has to do to attain God? Guru, to attain God, one must lose everything in this world, especially the 3 desires, namely, desire for the opposite sex, desire for the materials, desire for the landed property. One has to lose these 3 things. The one in the search of God must be ready to accept the ridicules of others and take all these without any botheration and must shed the pride and ego. Human beings cannot realize God as long as they have attachments and feelings. One is always looking for comforts to lead their life in this world. Simply talking forever, one will not be able to reach the truth. If one has to reach the truth, one must leave everything. One person has asked our Gurunadar, Shri Nithyananda Swamigal, why he, after searching for 10 years, was unable to locate a jnani like our Swamigal. That person had asked this question through telephone instead of coming in person. For this, Swamigal replied that when you take your children to marriages and after coming back to your home, if your children request you to perform marriages for them like what they have seen outside, what will be your reply to your children? For that, the gentleman replied that he will inform their children to wait till they attain a certain age. Similarly, God had waited till you reach a certain age with the responsibility and had not shown me to you. That person became speechless. One should not ask questions like this. One must think before asking what to ask, what is needed and what is possible. One must beg to God that they do not have any belongings in this world daily. If you do this regularly, one day God will come to find you. Worshipping God is not simply speaking in a gathering and happily dispersing after the meeting. One has to undertake the hard-earned journey to reach God. If you're going to say that I've got entangled in the family life, then you should not undertake this journey. If one undertakes this journey, then one must be ready to lose everything to reach the target. Bhakti as a form of devotion is beautiful. The spirituality is ugly. Bhakti is beautiful because the person going to the temple for worshipping dresses themselves in good clothes and beautifies themselves with jewelry and flowers. They do all these because other people are watching them. If you ask why spirituality is ugly, then the following story will illustrate it. Siddhar Patinathar was a billionaire merchant equal to his king. To search for God, Patinathar left behind all his wealth and removed all his costly jewels and dress and went out of his palatial home by wearing a simple loin cloth and started going from home to home begging for food using his hands. It is the right code of conduct for one in search of God. But for people who live in Ajnanam, it looks very ugly. Especially his sister was annoyed by his behavior. Billionaire brother had become a beggar. Unable to tolerate this, she decided to kill him by mixing poison in his pancake. Patinathar understood the motive of his sister and he threw the pancake on the roof of his sister's home and pronounced the following immortal couplet. Veetu appam veetai suttal, if home pancake burns the home. Ottappam ottai chudattum, let the roof pancake burn the roof. The roof of his sister's home caught fire and started burning. This incident highlights that the deeds and activities of a jnani is correct for a person engaged in spirituality, but looks ugly for those in Ajnanam, which is ignorance. Disciple. Among the path of Bhakti and Jnanam, which is the easy one for God realization? Guru. Nowadays we can see there are many people in the temples sitting with their eyes closed. If you ask them, they will say they are doing meditation. That is not real meditation. Practicing the breathing is called Yogam. Meditation is a state when one loses consciousness when Yogam is internalized. Everyone cannot practice this. Nowadays it is very difficult to practice because it is very difficult to handle it. One cannot handle this state of unconsciousness without the supervision of the expert guru. Also, one must get rid of all desires to reach this state. Once a devotee told Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that he is not able to see God during his worship and inquired what was the defect in his worship. Paramahamsa replied that even if the oil container is empty of its content, there will be some oil still sticking to the sides and the bottom of the container, and the oil smell will be there. Similarly, one cannot see God as long as one has an iota of desire or even traces of desire. To see God, one must get rid of all the attachments to materials, desire, and affection. These three things control human beings and become obstacles for God realization. Disciple. What object is important to worship God? Guru. Pure mind is very important for worshipping God. Cleanliness is related to the worldly life, but it is not sufficient to appease God. God respects inner purity only. That is why the Siddhar Pambati, a snake charmer, composed the following stanza for our benefit. உள்ளத்துக்கு உள்ளேயே உணர வேண்டும், must feel inside your mind. உள்ளும் புறமும் அறிய வேண்டும், know it inside and outside. மெல்லக் கனலை எழுப்ப வேண்டும், raise the kundalini fire slowly. வீதி புனலிடை செலுத்த வேண்டும், send it through the street of Vindu. கள்ளப்புலனை கடிந்து விட்டு, after reprimanding the thieves of five senses, கண்ணு மூக்கு மேல் நின்று, keep it in between the eyes and above the nose. தெள்ளு பரஞ்சோதி தன்னைத் தேடி, search the clear effulgent divine light itself. சீர்பாதம் கண்டோம் என்ற ஆடு பாம்பே, O my snake, dance that the venerable feet are seen. The rising of Kundalini will stop all the functions of the five senses, thereby revealing the all-encompassing effulgent divine light. Siddhar Tirumular reiterates the same in his magnum opus Tirumandiram. ஆரியநல்லன் குதிரை இரண்டொல, O my warrior, horses is two. வீசிப் பிடிக்கும் விறகறிவாரில்லை, none knows to throw a catching net. கூறிய நாதன் குருவின் அருள் பெற்றால், with the blessings of the sharp-minded guru, வாரி பிடிக்க வசப்படும் தானே, can catch the whole and own it. In essence, one has to find venerable guru, and by following the direction of the guru, one can bring everything under control. That person is called a truthful disciple. Disciple. Can a human being attain the power of God, like omnipresent, omnipotent, and all-knowing? Guru. If you have a strong wish to have all the above, then you can attain. The moment you think or suspect about the possibilities, then you may not get it. You must be committed and focus your thought that God is within me and I am going to search and attain Him. As long as you remain an ordinary human being, you will not have any power. The moment you switch over from human being and merge with God, you will attain all these powers. Hence, I am telling people not to worry about whether God is there or not. It is a matter beyond you. In reality, you are here, you are speaking, you have come here. What brought you here? What is speaking? Which is asking questions? All these are carried out by God only. If God is not there within yourself, then you will not be able to speak. Hence, you must take efforts to attain all these powers. If you suspect whether these powers are there or not, and whether you will get it or not, then you will backtrack from your commitment. You must be fully committed and dedicated till the time you attain all these powers mentioned by you. Once you realize God, you will have all its powers. Disciple, who created us? Can we become God because God is within us? Guru, God has not created us. Since the power of God is within us, can we become God? If God had not created us, then who created us? Only our parents created our physical body. Only our mother had given birth to the physical body. God has not created the physical body. Only the relationship between men and women can fertilize the fetus which grows into the physical body. It started millions of years back. However, God created the seed, the vindu, the divine melody, nadam, the life, and 5 basic elements which are responsible for the germination of every living being, including human being. When it is raining, the rainwater accumulates on the earth and it is clean water. If you leave it for 10 days, then you will notice some tadpoles are swimming, and after some time, frogs will grow. How did it happen? By the action of 5 basic elements, life gets germinated. The same 5 basic elements are within our body also. The 5 basic elements are the foundation for all the living beings on this earth. God is in those 5 basic elements. Nobody has seen God. If there is no sun and moon, we will not exist. We will all die if there is no sun and moon. It is required for every living being. Without sun and moon, no living being can survive. Forget about the story of God. Left nostril breathing is known as Ida, the lunar channel called Chandra, moon, Nadi. It runs through the left side of the spinal cord and activates the right hemisphere of the brain. It is responsible for cooling the body. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, leading to a relaxed state of mind. Right nostril breath is known as Pingala and flows through the solar channel called Surya, the sun Nadi. It is responsible for maintaining the body heat associated with masculine energy. It activates our left hemisphere of our brain associated with our sympathetic nervous system, causing the fight or flight response, an instinct to keep us alive. An instinct to keep us alive and out of immediate danger. The channel of energy flowing along the core of the spine, which is Shushmna Nadi, is said to be unaffected by the powerful energies of Ida and Pingala swirling around it. It happens only during deep meditation. It is responsible for the feeling of bliss and God realization. Human beings cannot survive without Ida and Pingala breathing. Even God cannot come and save us. God will not breathe. Only we have to breathe. The reason for that is food. We can say that our food is God. If you don't eat food, then we'll die. Only food is keeping human beings alive. Food is also made of 5 basic elements. That is the reason we are also made of these 5 basic elements called earth, water, fire, air, and space. Disciple, what is the purpose of betel leaf, betel nut, coconut, camphor, and flowers in ritualistic worship? Guru, nowadays people go to temple by wearing silk saris, the female dress, and silver thread-bordered vesti, the male dress. They will be carrying all the ingredients required for worshipping the deity in a typical temple, namely the flowers, fruit, coconut, betel nut, and betel leaves on a silver plate. They will be carrying all these so that it is visible to everyone on the way. If you ask them whether they worship the god, they will tell they don't know. Whatever they had carried to the temple, they will hand it over to the temple priest and they will be standing there. What is the use of such worship? Only the temple priest worshipped the deity. This person simply went to the temple and came back. Only the temple priest chanted all the mantrams and worshipped the deity. Interesting thing is, after breaking the coconut in the temple, they should keep it by facing the deity. However, the broken coconut halves, the white kernel portion, are kept facing the worshippers. Even when they worship at home, they keep the coconut halves in the same way. Is keeping the shell portion of the broken coconut halves toward God real worship? Did anybody ask the temple priest why it is kept like this? What is the purpose of breaking the coconut in the temple? Did anybody ask the explanation for offering fruits, flowers, coconut, betel nut, betel leaf to God? Even the priest doesn't know and not interested to learn also. The following 5 ingredients, flowers, fruits, camphor, betel nut, and betel leaf, offered during worship to God, represent the 5 basic elements. The betel leaf represents air. The betel nut represents water, the fruit of the earth, the flower represents the sky, and the camphor represents fire. When you offer all these during your worship, you offer the 5 basic elements to God for worshipping. Have you ever asked why coconut is used instead of any other nuts? Only coconut has 3 eyes and no other nuts have it. Similarly, human beings also have 3 eyes. No other living being has 3 eyes. Ancient siddhas, saints and jnanis found out all these using their yogic power. They have not informed the general public, and the public was not interested to learn it also. The reason for breaking the coconut is to get rid of 3 types of obstacles, or the trinity discussed in a previous answer called mummalangal in Tamil language. Everyone receives these 3 bad effects from the past deeds of themselves, father and mother. Only after cleansing the effects of these deeds, one will get the elixir from the fountain of youth. Elixir exists only in human body. Symbolic representation of the process of obtaining this is by churning of the ocean of milk as described in the old scriptures. Our stomach is a representation of the ocean of milk. Vasuki, the divine serpent, represents our breath. And the mountain of Meru, used for churning the ocean of milk, represents our head. In coconut, the 3 unwanted bad effects are the outer husk, the coconut shell, and the kernel portion. After removing all this, there will be the coconut water as the elixir. This is the way to obtain the elixir. One becomes God after drinking the elixir. This is the reason for keeping the white kernel portion of the broken coconut halves facing the worshippers. One's mind must become white, meaning clean and refined to reach God. What is the use of worshipping God without knowing all these facts? Disciple, how one should worship God. Guru, உள்ளத்துக்குள்ளே உணர வேண்டும், must feel it in the mind. உள்ளும் புறம்பையும் அறிய வேண்டும், must know inside and outside. மெல்லக் கனலை எழுப்ப வேண்டும், raise the fire slowly. வீதி புனலிலே செலுத்த வேண்டும், send it along the street of Vindu. கண்ணுக்கு மூக்கு மேற் காண நின்று, fix your look above the nose and eyes. தெல்லு பரஞ்சோதி தன்னைத் தேடி, search for the clear effulgent divine light. சீர்பாதம் கண்டோம் என்றாடாய் பாம்பே, O snake, dance that we have seen the divine feet. The ultimate will appear as clear effulgent divine light, the Paranjodi, after one banishes the 5 thieving senses of the body. This effulgent divine light will appear after one gets rid of their name, fame, honor, ego, prestige, and all respects of this world. Siddharagathiyar, the great saint, emphasized it in the following lines in one of his stanzas. Manabhimanam vidugayileye. After one gets rid of their honor, ego, prestige, and all respects, Deepa Mangala Jodi Udikkayile. Ultimate will appear as clear effulgent divine light. The following are the ways and times in which it may appear. Oonudal urukki ulloli perukki, melting the body and increasing the inner light. Kallapunal neeki, karuthodu iruppavarukku, removing the thieving senses and living with attention. Thellat thelivaga paranjodi thondrum. Ultimate will appear as effulgent divine light as clearly as possible. How will God appear if a person maintains abundant desires in his mind with the intention of cheating others? Without refinement of the mind, God will not come and take a seat in one's mind. If you ask someone where is God, they will reply that God is omnipresent, including in a pillar and a dust. One has to analyze. If God exists in inanimate objects, then won't God exist in human beings who have feelings? God is within you. God is not outside. One has to search for God and find out within themselves. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to tell the following story. A sculptor had made 3 sculptures. All these 3 sculptures were made differently. The first one was made of salt, the second one was made of cloth, and the third one was made of stone. Then these 3 were put into the ocean. The salt sculpture mixed with the ocean, and the one made with cloth absorbed seawater. The sculpture made of the stone was not affected. We conclude from the above that one has to become like the salt and merge with God for one's liberation and moksham. For the liberation, one has to annihilate the mind. As long as the mind is there is no place for liberation. There are many people like the stone sculpture. How will they attain the wisdom in one birth? They may wander from temple to temple till the end of their life. Then they take birth again and start performing various duties in the temple, like singing hymns on the glories of God and cleaning the premises till the end of this life. Then that person takes birth for the 3rd time as a yogi. That person may not end the birth and death cycle unless that person ends his life in Yogam. In the 4th birth, that person takes birth as a jnani, the man of wisdom. This is truth and not a lie. One has to have courage to engage oneself on the path of God realization. The billionaire turned Siddhar Patinathar had indulged in his wealth equal to that of a king and God was not with him. Only when he left all his wealth, God started to accompany him wherever he went. From this, we understand that there is no work for God as long as we maintain desires and wealth. Only after annihilating all our desires, we ourselves become God. It is the real meaning. Disciple. Are religious rituals and ceremonies making God happy? Guru. They don't. Performing religious rituals and ceremonies are performed without knowing who is God. What will be its use? Whether God is pleased or not, you will be pleased and your mind will become happy by the celebrations. People perform all this only for this. It has nothing to do with God. However, these are required for children and people ignorant of the purpose of human life to get to know the importance of God.